Welcome back to the We Get to Do This podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Jacob. This is the show for anyone chasing something hard, where we turn I have to into we get to.
With real, relatable, and resourceful conversations on business, training, recovery, wellness, and mindset. Let's get into it.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the We Get to Do This podcast. And welcome to our first guest of season 2.
And we truly could not have picked a better guest to kick it off with.
No, not even close. This is Emily Kellogg's first ever podcast. We're flattered. She's a physical therapist and a runner who was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer at the age of 27. 16 rounds of chemo, and she ran a half marathon the day after her last round. She now has no evidence of disease and is continuing to stay active and positive through all of it.
Emily never stopped working, never stopped showing up to run club before her infusions, and somehow she's honestly one of the most grateful and joyful people that we have ever talked to.
We get into what stage 4 actually means, how running kept her going, and this mindset she has, why not me, instead of why me. It's going to stick with you.
If any episode captures exactly what our podcast is about, it's this one.
Emily Kellogg, welcome to We Get to Do This. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the We Get to Do This podcast. Y'all, it's an exciting day because we just found out it is Emily's first podcast, and I'm throwing that right at you right away. We're super excited you're here. Joe McMahon, if you listen to he's been on the show twice now. If you listen to his last episode with us, which I'm blanking on when it was, what number it was, he actually plugged you, Emily, and was like, y'all, Kaylee, Jacob, you got to get Emily on. She has an incredible We Get to Do This story, and you need to talk to her. Which brings us to this moment. So Emily Kellogg, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. We always start by asking our guests, who are you, what do you do, and why do you do it? So I'm going to throw it to you and let you kind of take it from here, and we'll dive in. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. I am so excited to be here. I think this is such a fun, cool new thing that I get to be part of. But my name's Emily. I am a physical therapist. I'm a runner, and I am a stage 4 breast cancer thriver. And what do? I love to be outdoors. I love to run. I love to help other runners. I'm a physical therapist who treats a lot of runners, a lot of active adults. And so I love helping people stay active and healthy. I always have, but I think more so even now since my breast cancer diagnosis, a big part of this journey for me has been figuring out how to stay active and healthy while I go through breast cancer treatment long term, with it being stage 4, and always having to live on some sort of medication, at least for the foreseeable future. And that was a big part of the beginning of my journey. Was honestly the first question I asked was, will I still get to run? And will I still get to hang out with my friends? Running for me is community here in Charlotte. I run with my friends every single day, and it is what keeps me going. Running for me is also work too. I have patients who run, and so I like to be able to, do the things that I am preaching. And so I was just very hopeful that I'd still get to do my day-to-day activities. And I think that that's my why. I hope to leave the world a better place than before. And I hope to continue to help other people around me, whether it's through running or activity, or whether it is through physical therapy or my breast cancer journey and my story and being a patient advocate. I think that I always looked for hope at the beginning of my journey, again, with not being sure if I was going to be able to run or work and those sorts of things. And so I always say it's the hope I always looked for, never found, but decided to create myself. And so I love doing podcasts. Well, it was my first podcast, but I'm already loving it. But loving things like this, I've had some like news interviews and things, and I write a lot about it and share my writing. And I love to share my story online just because I hope to give someone else that hope that I just never seemed to find, but figured I was determined enough to figure it out.
Hmm. How old are you? If you
I'm
don't mind
28.
me asking.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
28.
we're the same age.
Oh,
Let's
heck yeah.
go. Okay, you're 28. So can we start by painting the picture a little bit? So it's currently 2026. You
Mhm,
are 28. Uh, you live in Charlotte.
mhm.
You're a physical therapist. The company that you said you are the director there, correct? At Made to
Yes,
Move
a
Physical
clinic director
Therapy.
at Me Too. Yep, in Charlotte.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Can you walk us through the last I mean, even like I'd be curious, with your running background back to like maybe even high school, like when you started running, what that was like, and the shift into physical therapy, and then your diagnosis. Can you kind of like walk us through, I mean, the
My
last
life.
like 10 years really of how you got to this moment and paint that picture for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was never necessarily like a runner, like on the track team or the cross country team or anything like that. I've just always really enjoyed being active and playing sports. And I feel like I'm someone who could just like pick up a sport and be able to play it at least halfway decent. And so running for me was just another way to exercise and move my body. And so I ran just for fun, like on my own in high school, until was starting to have knee pain. Actually stopped running, did not run at all for like all of college until PT school. I was kind of like on the mindset of like, I have so many different things I can do for exercise. I love to lift, I love to play tennis, and I snowboard and I skateboard. And so I have all these other things I can do. I don't know if I'll be able to run again. Until I got to PT school and everyone was running. And I was like, well, this is such a shame. Like, I just want to be out there with people and I just want to be able to say yes to everything. Like, I just want to be able to do whatever it is I want to do. And so was working through my knee pain on my own while in PT school. And then finally got to the point where I was able to run and was just kind of running like, 3, 4 miles for exercise here and there, and then decided to run a 10K in Charleston, and then moved to Charlotte. And I'd say when I moved to Charlotte, that's when I really got into running. So that was 2 years ago that I moved to Charlotte, for my husband's residency program, is why we moved here. And then I wanted to just meet other people and make friends. And I was like, well, what better way than fitness? So I just was popping into gyms and run clubs and just like kind of like, who do I vibe with? And then I just ended up really vibing with all of the girls that I met at Run Club. And then I just couldn't stop going. And then suddenly I found myself on a 10-mile run on the weekend with some girls. And I was like, I guess I'm a runner now. And they were like, are you doing the
Nice.
Charlotte Marathon? Like it was in like a month or so. They're like, are you doing the Charlotte Marathon? And I was like, certainly not running a marathon. I just started running and they were like, well, what about the half? And I was like, gosh, like, I'm not even really a runner. And they were like, you're running 10 miles right now. And I was like, you're right. Maybe I could do a half. And so kind of like stumbled into that a little bit, and just got super into running just because of the people around me. And so for me, it was just always so much more than running. It was the community around it, and it always has been. And I am thankful beyond words for the Charlotte running community because they have been here through for me throughout my entire cancer journey. One of the things I always did before going to chemo, so I had 16 rounds of chemo last summer, where I would go every single Thursday. It's like an 8-hour infusion, and that's a really long day, exhausting day. But every Thursday, I'd wake up and go for a run at 6 a.m. with all of my friends, and just told myself, like, I'm going to try to do this the whole time, no matter how far I can run, no matter how much I can do, whether it's a run walk, a 2-mile run, or a 10-mile run. I was like, I'm just going to show up and see what happens. And I was able to run every Thursday before chemo with all of my friends. And that was just like, oh, I always said it was like my one smile of the day. And so to me, it's just always been more than just like running and racing. It's like so much more than that. It's for me, it's the community. And so, yeah, I moved here in July of 2024. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer in March of 2025. So pretty soon after. So these are like pretty new friends 2 that I had just made, and so I am just so thankful. I can't imagine if this had happened, like, right after I moved. I feel like I would have felt even more lonely. Cancer is a lonely journey, and so to have people to lean on every single day, and those friends were, again, new friends, and they rallied around me immediately. Like, I was nervous to tell them, I'm like, "I'm a new friend of theirs, and I'm gonna tell them I suddenly have stage 4 breast cancer," and immediately texting me every Thursday, meeting up with me to run, checking in on me all the time. They were all there my last round of chemo to celebrate with me. Like, I walked outside and there were 20 people standing outside after I had rang the bell,
Wow.
which was just shocking. I did not know they were all gonna be there. And so I truly think, yeah, running has developed into something I never would have imagined. Yeah. But yeah, to tell a little bit more about like my breast cancer diagnosis, like you had asked, I essentially found a lump and I immediately, made an appointment with my gynecologist and they were like, you need to get imaging within the next 48 hours. Like this is rather large. So I got imaging pretty quickly, was told like I was just going to get an ultrasound and then, likely just move on from there. I was 27 at the time, so pretty young. I think less than, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's like less than like 5% of breast cancer diagnoses or something like that are under 40. So I was like, okay, like what are the odds really? Then I went and got the ultrasound. They're like, we need a mammogram. I was like, oh, this can't be good. And mammogram. And then while I was in there, they're like, we need to take a biopsy. I'm laying on the table getting a biopsy. And they're like, what are you going to do this weekend? Like, what are you up to? Trying to like distract me. And I'm like, oh, I'm going on like a 10-mile run with my friends tomorrow. And they're like, we're doing a biopsy right now. You're not doing that tomorrow. And I was like, what do you mean? And so that was like the start of me just always like wanting to see how much I could still do despite all of the chaos. But pretty soon after that, like 2 days after, they called me to give me the news that I had breast cancer. And then I had to do a bunch of screening before that, like CT scan, MRI, all the things. And during that, they had found that the cancer had metastasized to my liver. And so I was, diagnosed at stage 4 just from the very beginning. Which I always say, like, hearing I had cancer was super tough for sure. I kind of felt like it was coming once I had had all those tests done, but finding out that I had stage 4 cancer was traumatizing and, like, just
Can you explain what
I remember.
stage 4 means, Emily? For
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's different stages of all types of cancer. And so essentially if you're stage 1, 2, or 3, the breast cancer is contained to either your breast and or your lymph nodes. And so as soon as it leaves the lymph nodes and goes anywhere else in the body, it is deemed stage 4, regardless of how big or small it is. And so mine had spread to my liver. And when you hit that stage, it is deemed like incurable, essentially, just because now it's traveled throughout your bloodstream. And so, I've done chemo and radiation and all the things. And chemo does go throughout your body and that sort of thing. And I had surgery on my breasts and my lymph nodes and my liver and all those sorts of things. The thought is just that, like, if it's traveled throughout my bloodstream now, we can't really detect it at this point. It's so small within my bloodstream, and um, it's hard to tell on scans whether that is still there or not. But technically, I have no evidence of disease on scans, which is really awesome.
and when did you
Um,
find that out? When
I
was
found that out in October. So March, March I was diagnosed. May to September I did chemo, and then I did surgery. Had like breast, lymph node, liver surgery, all in October. And then that's when they had done scans again and had said like no evidence of disease. And then I still had to go through with radiation just because the thought is that there may be some cells in that area still that just aren't coming up on scans. And so that's the thing. Like we just like don't exactly know what's happening, I guess, in the rest of my body to say that for sure it's been cured. Whereas like stage 1, 2, or 3, once they've removed all the parts and gotten like clear borders of like breast, lymph nodes, that sort of thing, they can kind of say like, okay, you've been cured of this cancer now. And so I think that's why like stage 4 felt so daunting to me, and so just, like, life altering. I mean, cancer is life altering in general, and then I just remember dropping to the ground that day when I found out that it had spread to my liver and just hysterically crying, and honestly, I lived a period of my life being like, "Am I gonna survive this? Like, is this going to take over my body? Am I gonna wake up tomorrow?" As crazy as that all sounds, like, it just felt really daunting. I didn't really know what the treatment plan would be at that point. And so I'm super grateful to be here, and to be doing so well right now. Still on maintenance meds and things of that nature. But overall very grateful for the path and where I am now.
When I imagine having is your husband still in residency? Or,
Yes, yeah. Yep.
like,
He's on his 3rd year, yeah.
I imagine, like, having someone who's, like, literally in the medical field too is very helpful, but also I'm sure from his perspective, you really understand, like, how serious this was.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, super helpful that he would come to all my doctor's appointments and can, like, just be a voice of reason. Because I mean, I he was obviously very distraught over it too, and so was I, but I feel like since he works in, like, the medical field, he's very good at, staying calm under pressure, and so I know it affected him mentally a ton as well, but he was able to just be the voice of reason and, like, listen in and ask questions during appointments even when I might be hysterically crying, and that ultimately, I mean, he was my rock. He helped me kind of figure out the plan, and still, like, was able to, like, comfort me along the whole journey for sure. And I'm sure in a lot of ways that was probably very challenging on him to, like, fully understand everything that's going on. But, being your own advocate is everything, and, like, knowing what questions to ask is such a huge part of the medical journey, and so I feel extremely thankful to have him by my side.
Had anyone else in your family had cancer, like, gone through anything like this?
No, yeah, no,
Wow.
no family history at all. That's also, like, why, like, when I found the lump, I said, like, was talking to my husband, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, what if it's cancer? What if it's this?" And he was like, "What are the odds that it's cancer? Like, you're 27, like, you have no family history of it. Like, we should definitely get it checked out, but, like, more likely than not, it's probably not cancer." And he was like, "But still, let's get it checked out." And so, yeah, really just crazy, that this happened, and, I just chalk it up to bad luck, I guess. I think a lot of people will ask me, like, why, and I don't know why, and I don't think my doctors know why either at this time anyway. I mean, maybe one day we'll know more answers. And a lot of people have asked me, like, doesn't that bother you? Like, don't you want to know why? And, like, it just no, it doesn't really bother me because I don't blame myself. I don't really blame society. Like, it happens, and I'm sure it happens to a lot of people, and they don't know why. And so rather than saying, like, why me, I've always thought, like, why not me? And that sounds kind of crazy, I think, but, like, I know it happens. Like, cancer is unfortunately not uncommon. I mean, it's probably pretty more uncommon this young, but, like, why not me to figure it out? Like, why would I be exempt? Is what I've always thought. And why not me to keep going despite all of this, and, get to be a patient advocate and get to show people that there's hope. Whether you're going through cancer, whether you're going through, like, a hard health diagnosis, or whether you're just going through something tough, like, why not me to show the world that you can still live your life and do so much despite a stage 4 cancer diagnosis is kind of how I've always looked at it.
Mhm. Well, we sure appreciate you sharing your
Wow.
story, man.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
what Okay, so back to, like, running, what was the response of your doctors and, like, team when you're like, "Hey, I still want to be super active, and I want to run, and I have this community," like, were they
Yeah.
supportive of that? Like, what was the response around all of that?
Yeah, I mean, great question, because I was, like, very nervous to ask and not know what the answer. I almost was like, "Do I ask? Maybe I don't wanna know what the answer's about to be." But no, they've been supportive from the very beginning. They've always been like, "You can do whatever you feel up for." Like, they were like, "It's not bad." They were like, "Exercise is great. Exercise is great for cancer patients." So, I wish, like, all cancer patients knew that. I think that has helped with my levels of fatigue. I think it has just helped with my mental aspect of everything too. And so they were super supportive. They were like, "We don't know what this is gonna look like, to be honest," which is scary to live in the unknown. I've lived in a lot of unknown, and I think that's the scariest place to be. But it is also what leads to the most beauty too. And so I try to remind myself of that. Like, the unknown is scary, but I think it's what allows us to feel all the highs. And without the unknown, if I always knew what I was going to be sitting here today doing from the very start, it wouldn't feel as happy and exciting, I don't think. And so the unknown was hard, but I asked them and essentially they were like, whatever you feel up for, you're allowed to do. No amount of exercise is bad. And they were like, if you feel up for working, they were like, we have plenty of people who still work with cancer. I obviously have a very like physical job though too. So I was like, well, like I had met some people through this that I was like, okay, they're, working their job remotely at home. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be able to be a physical therapist, but somehow I'm going to figure it out. And I didn't know quite like they were like, you might not be able to run as much as you are running right now. They were like, listen to your body. Again, just meet yourself where you're at. And so I was very nervous, like, oh, am I going to go to run club and kind of run walk? Like, I'm not going to really get to run with my friends. I was like, I'll just be grateful enough to be there, but like, I'd like to be able to run with my friends. And honestly, I ran the whole entire time with my friends. Um, and kind of just, I had my days. Like, I had certain days after chemo where I could barely take a walk around the block. Like, I would go outside with my mom after my first couple rounds of chemo that were so hard. And I remember I'd get like halfway down the block and she'd be like, "Do you want to turn around?" And that was really hard to, see myself like that because as someone who's ran, a half marathon and runs every, 4 days a week, like that was crazy. Um, but I always told myself when I was ready to get back to it, I'd get back to it. So I'd have a couple days like that and then I'd slowly ease back into it. And then I'd do it all over again and get chemo again. um, but by the end, I mean, the beginning goal was just to keep running. By the end, I had this crazy idea that what if I ran a half marathon the day after my last round of chemo? And I kept this thought to myself. I was like, I'm not telling anyone this goal because I don't even know if it's physically possible. So when I was diagnosed, I ran a half marathon that week because I was like, I just want to see where I'm at, benchmark where it is Emily right now. I also did it because I was like, well, what if I don't ever get to do this again? Like, what if my body is never the same and I can never get to this level? And I will say I don't feel the same in any regards now. And so I just wanted to like really like bask in that feeling for a little longer. So I ran a half marathon that week and then I had this crazy idea that I'd run one at the end of chemo. And I was like, probably not, but we'll see. And then it was like the week before my last round of chemo, and I looked at all my friends at Run Club and I was like, guys, I think I'm gonna run a half marathon next Friday. I finished chemo on a Thursday. I was like, I'm gonna come to this Run Club on Friday. I'm gonna run a half marathon, but don't hold me to it. I'm just gonna see what I can do. And they were like, Emily, you're gonna probably do it if you're saying you're gonna do it. Like, we know you. They were like, we're gonna show up. We're doing it with you. And I was like, you guys don't need to do it with me. I might not end up doing it. And they were like, you're going to do it. And they all came, like, they probably had like 15 of us. They came, they made little race bibs that said, like, Emily is stronger than chemo half marathon. And we ran our 13.1 miles together. And I could not believe after my 16th round of chemo that I was able to do that. And so it was just such a testament to like, I am still me. And it didn't feel quite like what my half marathon felt like in March and, running still doesn't feel quite like I did in March 2025. But I'm still out there and I still feel like I still have parts of me that feel like me. And that was huge.
How have
Congrats on
you?
that.
I think we were following you on that when you did that. I think by
Oh,
then. I
maybe
think
that was in
because I
September.
remember.
Yeah.
Maybe not
I
then.
posted about
Maybe
it.
I
And
just maybe I just saw it when I was looking at your stuff at
yeah,
one
yeah.
point. How have you stayed? You are extremely positive. Just
Thank
talking to
you.
you right now, in the short time we've known you, how have you stayed so positive? Have you
Um,
stayed so positive?
yeah, I think for the most part. I mean, I obviously have my ups and downs and my good days and my bad days for sure. And I think that's the thing. I've let myself feel both of them, or I've tried to at least. Um, I am actually someone who's probably pretty quick to be like, "It's okay, I'll figure it out, I'm good." But I do you do need to feel all the feels during this for sure. And honestly, I think just like through my journaling and through like just sharing of my story, I really think like that's what's kept me so positive. When I was first diagnosed, I actually really never been into journaling, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna journal about this experience so I can kind of like look back. and, remember the good days and also remember the bad days and remember where I've come. And so I continue just to feel this gratitude is kind of what I always thought, like that I can look back on the journal entries that didn't go so well and be like, I'm still here. Like, this is a pretty good day. And so from the start, I always use journaling as a way just to like get out all my frustrations. Like when you're first diagnosed with cancer, it feels like everything's being taken away from you. And so like, you're like, am I still going to be able to work? Am I still going to be able to run? I'm having to go to the hospital every day. Like this is a lot. Um, I likely won't ever be able to like have my own children and will likely adopt. And so like you're losing your ability to like at first they had told me like you probably won't be able to have kids for 5 years because you're going to need to be on these meds. And it was 10 years and then it was like you might never be able to have kids at this point with it being stage 4. So it always felt like the bigger the thing that was taken away though, the more I was like, dang, I am just so grateful for what I do have because I realized how much worse it could get as things were getting worse. And so from the very beginning, I just like journaled about all those things. And I would be like, okay, I'm going to write down all of the things that I feel like I've lost. But I'm also going to write down, I've got to see the other side. I'm going to write down all the things I think I still have. And my list of the things I still had and was still grateful for has always been longer than the list of the things I've lost. And I just noticed that. Like, I did that like at least once a week in the beginning of my cancer journey. And I was like, this is so interesting. Every list, like the list of things I'm grateful for and the list of things I still have is longer than the list of things that I feel like I'm losing. And that just really put it into perspective. Like, I still have so much. And I think that's what that journaling really kept me positive. Um, and then just being able to share that with other people and just again, like trying to find the joy in each day. I think when you really hit the bottom, you just really start to see the light at the light at the other end of the tunnel. And like during chemo, I'd call it like the vortex. Like I would enter into the vortex on Fridays because I just like would not remember anything from like Friday, Saturday, Sunday after like my first couple rounds of chemo, which were my hardest. And I would just be like a shell of myself, could hardly really walk, just like kind of like laid in bed, and then by Monday morning, I'd be like, "What just happened?" Like, I kinda wouldn't even really remember the weekend, and then life just felt so beautiful. Like, I was just like, "I am outside in the fresh air with the sunshine, and I'm getting to go to work, and I get to go run with my friends this morning again, and I get to feel good." And I think, like, I just was like, "I wish I could just bottle this up, this feeling, and give it to everyone." Because this is, like, the biggest joy I've ever felt, is just coming out on the other side of that every single week, and, yeah, I want to remember that, and I want to, like, still be able to feel that joy because truly, your podcast has the best name. We get to do this, like, we get to wake up on Monday morning and go to work, and we get to run with our friends, and, it's not a have to, it's a we get to, because some people don't get to, and there were days where I didn't get to, so, yeah.
It's just such a
You're
testament to gratitude because we talk about gratitude all the time on the pod,
Mhm,
and I really like your perspective on journaling too. Because, I mean, I've gotten a little out of the habit now, but I used to write down like 10 things I'd be grateful for every day. And
yeah,
even if I was not feeling good or stressed or other things were happening, just that perspective shift
mhm,
is so vital. And that's something that, I know all of the listeners and us can take away. And I think it's something that, like, just to have that mindset shift every day. It's just like a very good reminder of like all of the beauty that is here. And, we were talking actually this morning, Jacob and I remember what I think I said, what's your favorite part of life or something? And just like thinking about like all of like the nature and like the natural beauty that's like on earth. And it's like, wow, we like get to live in this like beautiful place. And there's so many places to explore and there's so many people to meet. And
you take it for granted, like, you just don't you're
you
just
do.
so used to having it, and so, like, I was so used to, like, getting to go to work every single day and, like, feeling good and getting to go exercise, like, I would just be like, "Well, of course I'm gonna go to work and exercise," and then I think even just, like, the vocabulary switch around it instead of saying, like I just posted about this the other day, like, instead of saying, like, "We have to do this," like, "We get to do this," like, I don't have to go to work, I get to go to work. I don't have to go on a run. I get to go on a run. And so I think even just changing that one word, like as silly as it sounds, like when you say it out loud sometimes, like I'm sure it sounds silly, but like it just like ignites something in your brain that you just feel differently towards this thing. When you say like, "Oh, I have to go to work right now," your body's gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, this is a chore, and now I'm miserable to go do this." When I say like, "I get to go to work right now," and with a smile on my face, like you're just that little change. You're going to be happier. And I think we take a lot of the things every day for granted, and I honestly think I did too until they were taken away from me. Which is sad that it had to get to that point. But to feel that way, and so that's why I try to like write about it and share my journals on Substack and post about it because I'm like, I hope that someone else can feel this gratitude without having to go through a life altering illness. We all deserve to feel that joy and to see that joy. For sure.
Well, and even with running too, 'cause we both raced this weekend, and when things get hard, remembering, like, I get to be running right now, and I get to be in community, and
Mhm.
again, you just immediately, like, not saying it wasn't still hard, because it was still very, very hard, but
Totally.
it's like, "No, I chose to do this, and I get to be out here."
Totally. And like, even like, if you do or you don't hit your goals, it's like, I still got to be here. I still got to push my body. And how much of a blessing is that? Like, we all get so caught up in the day to day and setting goals and striving. We're always going to be striving for something more. And it's easy to kind of forget, like, we are so privileged to be able to run. And I think, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be faster, to run farther. And then we almost downgrade our accomplishments. And then I'm like, someone else is sitting in a hospital bed right now and just wishes they could go get up and walk. Someone wishes that they could run. How cool is it that we get to? Yeah, I think it's like, and I think it's so important to feel both things. Is kind of how my journaling's always been. 'Cause like I said, I wasn't always like so great at feeling all of the downfalls. I just always have wanted to like kind of turn it into something positive, and I think it's good to feel both. I think, you gotta let yourself feel is what I've kind of learned and I think I've gotten better at throughout my cancer journey. I think it's something like I needed to get better at is like showing my emotions and feeling them. And I think that's what makes us human. And like that's what helps us all connect with each other. If we were all happy and positive all the time, when you don't feel positive, you'd be like, no one else ever sad but me. And so I think my journaling has always tried to be both sides of like, this is what I feel right now, and it's really hard. And if you're going through this too, like I relate. And this is what I'm taking out of it that's positive. I always try to end all of my journals on like a positive note, essentially. So like all of my Substack articles are like, this is what's going on right now, and this is the message I'm taking away that's positive. That way, like I always end in a good headspace, but I still let myself feel those really hard feelings because I do think sharing those hard things is what allows other people to not feel lonely. And if I could give anyone something, it would be not to feel lonely. 'Cause I've felt lonely, even though I've had been surrounded by 100 people, I still feel lonely just because I just am like no one else in my life, thank God, has cancer and can relate to those things. And so I think it's just good to be able to like talk about these things so that other people don't feel alone in them.
Did your oncology team help with, like, mental health stuff and, like, talking about, like, "Hey, we recommend seeing, like, a therapist," or, like, kind of how to deal with all of these emotions, or did you just figure it out on your own?
Um, no, yeah, good question. It's so nice at the Living Cancer Institute where I go for all my treatment. They have mental health therapists for free. So that's like part of like the supportive oncology services that they have. They have like mental health therapy. They have things like acupuncture and PT and OT and all the different things, all the different therapies essentially. And so they even have, like, music therapy and whatever art
Cool.
therapy, like, whatever relates to anyone, you can kind of go and seek out there, which I don't know that all cancer hospitals have that, so I feel extremely grateful that it's right there for me. But yeah, right from the start, they were like, "You" like, someone came in and talked to me and was like, "If you want, this is here." And I was actually a little hesitant at first and did not say yes because I was overwhelmed by the number of appointments I had, so I was like, "Another thing to worry about now." But I do see a therapist, and I still do, and it's been super helpful. The journaling thing is something I just picked up on my own and just thought about on my own. That was like the journaling, the Substack articles, like the feeling the negatives and the positives. That was just me thinking that up, but I do see someone as well, and they have been so supportive in helping me find resources for sure, which is awesome.
Uh-huh. It's cool if they have all that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. It's awesome that they have all of that for sure. Definitely.
What does the road look like from here? We talked about that a little bit before we
Yeah,
started recording.
so I'm on like a oral chemo medication now, and then I'm on some hormone suppressors. I get an injection once a month for that, and then I also take a pill every day to suppress my hormones, which is essentially like the reason why like I'm in medically induced menopause, so that and have to stay that way because the like hormones are what was feeding my cancer. So if we take those medications away, the thought is that it could grow back. And so still will be on those, for the long term, which is part of the reason, why, you know, fertility and things like that are all questionable. So we'll still be on those medications, at least for the foreseeable future. As far as I know, just like indefinitely right now, I don't actually really know, what the future holds per se. But we all don't know what the future holds. And you never know how far research could come. And at first, like forever feels like a long time. And feels really daunting. And I try not to look at it that way. I try to like think about it with more of an open mind of like, this is my right now. I don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow in so many regards, not just my medication. And like I said, we all don't know. And so I feel hopeful that, research is always developing and that, maybe one day there's other options or maybe this is the option and I just learn to live with it in other ways. I think every day, I'm kind of working on like the side effects of the medication and managing it. And I remind myself that I'm also grateful to have it because it is what is keeping me alive. And so if it is something I have to stay on forever, I totally will. But I try to take it day by day. I've learned to really take my life day by day, I will say. Like when I was diagnosed with cancer, like, things are being thrown at you every day. Come in for this scan, come in for this appointment. Like I'm canceling patients at work and I'm reframing my whole schedule just so I can, put everything aside for this cancer diagnosis. And so every day I'd be like, I actually don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. The hospital might call me up and ask me to come in. And so my life is not that hectic anymore. Luckily, my appointments are all very planned out for me. But that really got me to be better at just like living in the moment a little bit more and living like day to day of like, I don't know what's to come. I don't know what the future holds in so many aspects. And I'm grateful to live in the moment a little bit more than I did prior to all this.
Mhm. You still have to go back for scans like every few months?
Yeah, I will get scans every 3 months for the foreseeable future. Um, just with my like stage 4 diagnosis, that's like kind of the protocol is every 3 months I'll get scans of my whole body. I get like a whole body bone scan, full body CT scan, just to make sure that nothing is, growing back or anything of that nature. And I mean, that at least gives me peace of mind, I will say. So that's good. And then I go for like my injection every month. And then I have other appointments, just like follow up with my oncologist. And then I see someone for like lymphedema therapy that I go and see every week. So I'm still at the hospital,
Hmm.
every week. But it doesn't bother me quite as much as it used to. It used to feel so crazy to even have like one appointment in a week. And now I'm just like, oh, it's just part of the week. But yeah, I've gotten to be more used to it, for sure. And yeah, I'm just thankful to have a team to be there for me. I'm thankful to have people to check in on me and things like that.
Yeah, that's incredible. And the running community, like you said. And so for work, everything, are you back to normal? Is it a new normal? What does that look like?
So I will say I never veered off of normal. I always just worked the
That's
same amount
cr-
actually
that's
throughout,
crazy.
which is a little crazy. I just would shove it all into 4 days instead of five. But I
So
also
you
would just
worked that entire time.
Yeah, the only time I took off
Wow.
was 2 weeks after surgery. I was forced to take off that time. I actually probably still did some work from home, to be honest, but I just did not go in and treat patients. So I had to recover from both of those things because having a breast surgery and then a liver surgery like 10 days later was crazy. Um, my doing for sure. I asked them to make them that close together because I did not want to skip a beat. But yeah, I worked throughout all of chemo. I worked just like, yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, essentially. So I'd go to chemo on Thursdays all
Wow.
day. And then I would go into work the next morning on Friday and work Friday and just did that every single week for, it was 16 weeks of chemo. So I was pretty determined to try to kept my patient caseload the same. Honestly, I would say the clinic grew and we hired someone during my time during chemo. So I was just like, okay, I just need to keep this. It was only I was the only PT there. So I was like, I need to keep this up and afloat if I want to keep doing this, long term. And so I was like, I'll do anything in my power to keep this going. I've worked so hard to get to this point. Like, I don't want the momentum to stop. And so I was like, let me just keep it steady. But it grew somehow, even with only 4 days a week. And I was very surprised by that because I was like, how did I do this? I would sometimes be sitting at chemo though, chemo infusion going on the phone with new patients. I'm like, they have no idea. I'm like, just like on the phone asking them about their pain. And I'm like, you probably think I'm in the office, like, I'm just at the chemo infusion room, but, I think it helped, though. People were like, "You don't have to do this," and I was like, "I know I don't have to do this, I want to do this. I'm choosing to do this," Like, I knew I could take a step down or back if I needed to, but I really think it was, like, the one time I just felt like me, like, it's really hard. You're losing your hair, you're looking in the mirror, you're like, "I don't look anything like myself." You're like, "I'm getting pumped with poison," essentially. You're like, "I don't feel anything like myself." And my time with my patients was the one time, like, I kinda could forget that I had cancer. Like, in the beginning, I mean, some of my patients knew if I was, like, pretty close with them and would tell them if they were part of the running community, they certainly knew. But a lot of my patients, I'd say at least half of them had no idea. And I didn't tell them until I left for surgery, and they were like, "Oh, like, when's treatment starting?" And I was like, "Well, I've been doing it for the past months, guys." And they were like, "What do you mean? You've been here." And I was like, "I had no idea." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, like, I went to chemo yesterday." And so I do think it was the thing that really helped me mentally, though, just, like, feel like myself and was, like, my distraction. I can't imagine, like, sitting at home and just thinking about cancer. I mean, when I found out I had stage 4 cancer, I literally picked myself up off the ground and went back to work that same day. And my mom and dad were like, "You don't need to go to work today. You can skip one day." And I was like, "I could, but it's not gonna get better tomorrow. Like, we're not getting rid of my stage 4 cancer tomorrow. So what's the difference if we start back up today? Might as well just keep going." And so I think I just really think that that is what helps me mentally kind of through all the challenges, help me feel like myself and just help me keep going, help me have energy, helped me feel happiness, and just help me see the joy in the day. So, yes, I'm still working normally, and I always have, to answer your question.
Your
Mm.
story is incredible.
Thank you.
Incredible. You are
I
you are
appreciate that. I don't think I give myself that kind of credit, so I really appreciate that.
You need to give yourself
like
so much credit. I'm sitting here being like, "Wow, I gotta change my
yeah.
attitude around," and I feel like we're pretty positive people.
I'm
But
sure. Yeah,
man,
you talked to probably so many great people, so
You I don't know if there is like many people that define we get to do this better. Certainly
oh,
not that have come on this podcast. And like I mean my brain is just like to to even worry about chasing times in running, right? Like I'm thinking about myself right now. To
sure.
even be disappointed in, you alluded to it, a goal not going the way you want it to go, right? Or like
Oh,
I
yeah, I feel
biked to work today and didn't feel like doing it. Like
yeah, and then
I'm
you're
just
like,
like rethinking so much right now, and it's
well, being in the
your
running community
story.
can be hard too. Like, people are always comparing themselves, I'm sure you feel this too, and you compare
Yeah.
yourself to yourself even, I think, like, And that's been hard for me because I'm like, well, I don't want to compare. The last person I want to compare myself to is my old self because I don't feel that way anymore. Like I'm much slower and that can be a really hard comparison. And we do that all the time in the running community. Oh, what are you training for right now? Oh, what's your goal? Like I'm sure it's the same way with you guys, like and all your friends too. Like I just know whenever I go to run club, oh, what are you training for? What's your goal? What's your time goal? Oh, how's it feeling? How was your speed workout? And I'm like, "Oh gosh," like, I mean, I'm training for the New York City Marathon right now, but I'm like, I don't have a time goal, like, I just am grateful to get to be able to run my first marathon, with cancer, so, like, that's the goal is to cross the finish line, um, which so many people would remind me, like, "Emily, that's a huge goal," and sometimes you just get so bogged down by, like, the running community, and you're like, "Is that a big enough goal?" And so I still feel this way. Like I still go back to that and then I have to journal and remind myself, like, Emily, you're battling stage 4 cancer and you're gonna train for the New York City Marathon. Like, yes, that's a big enough goal. But it can be really hard not to have that comparison, not even just with other people, but with yourself. Like the old me would have been like, okay, I want to have this time goal. So I mean, yeah, we're all human.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm sure you feel that way too. Just like, yeah, you're I know you do a lot of coaching and stuff. So yeah, you're around like very active individuals too, which I think can be such a blessing because you are the people you surround yourself by. And so you're like, cool, like I get to see people doing cool things. I'm gonna strive for, cool things too. And I'm gonna push my body and that's so healthy. And then also being surrounded by the same group of people, it's like you can kind of forget your wins sometimes too.
Mhm. Yeah, being able to just sit in that win, like, even, like, having not having no evidence of cancer anymore, being like, "Wow, this is, like, an incredible thing," or completing the marathon and, like, having, like, these big, like, life accomplishments
Totally.
and just sitting and not just immediately moving on to the next thing for just a little bit.
We Yeah, I know. I feel like we do. We do just like, you see so many people, they finish a race and they're like, all right, I hit my goal. Okay, well now I want to do go sub whatever. And like, did we even enjoy what we just accomplished that we just
Mhm,
spent months training for?
mhm.
Um, yeah, I still have to remind myself of all of that. And like of just even the little wins of like being able to like go out this morning and run with my friends and just run a couple miles. I
Mhm.
think, yeah, I think we all need to remind ourselves of the wins and see the wins a little bit more.
Emily, do you have any advice or thoughts on, like, for women specifically in, like, regards to breast cancer, since this is, like, especially for your age, like, more of a rare, unique thing, like, things that, like, we should be watching out for? Like, is there anything you wish you had known, like, prior
Yeah,
to
yeah.
all of this? Like, any
Great question. Yeah, I think biggest things are like you are your own advocate. You know your body best, and so a lot of people always say this: feel it on the first. So like remembering to feel your breasts on the first of every month. I never actually did self breast exams because I was 27 and just didn't really think anything about that. And then, I just happened to feel the lump. Like I wasn't doing a breast exam at the time. I just like happened to feel the side of my boob and could feel that there was a lump there. And so I think if I could give any woman an example of anything like to do, it's like you're not too young. You're not exempt from this just because you don't have like a genetic component to it or because you're too young. You need to know your body, check those things, and then when you feel something off, say something immediately. I mean, I said something immediately and I still have stage 4 cancer. So I don't know if there was anything I could have done any sooner. I mean, I think the other big thing is that like taking the healthy actions now, even when you're totally fine, is more worth it than you even realize, than we all even realize. I think for people who are already active, they're like, oh, I do this just because I love it. And for people who aren't active, they probably are like, well, I mean, I'm getting by and I'm fine without it. But God forbid anything ever happens to you. I do think I've been in like a better position to, keep staying active. Like I didn't start running when I found out I had cancer. Like I kept running. And I think I started from a much healthier standpoint than maybe other people do. And I think that's why I've been able to work and run and do the things I've been able to do. Like it's not a coincidence. Um, I didn't get an easier type of cancer. I didn't get an easier diagnosis. I mean, I have stage 4 cancer and had 16 rounds of chemo, so by no means was it any easier. It wasn't coincidence that I was able to do these things. I think it's just because I've always kept myself very healthy, eaten well, strength trained, ran, and I think that that is just so important. I think another part of this thing is like women don't realize how important strength training is. And actually recently had a bone density scan and found out that I have like low bone density, like osteopenia. And that was a really hard realization for me for someone who's so active. And it's just because of all my cancer medications and everything. And there's really nothing in my control that I could have done. But I'm like, if you have the ability to control that, like strength train, like exercise. Like there's nothing else I could have done to prevent some of these things. But anything in my power I can do to prevent anything from further happening, I will do. And I think we all have the ability to exercise in some capacity, whether it is a walk, a run, a seated exercise. Like we all have the ability to do something and just kind of meet your body where it's at and honor your body. We only get one.
Mhm.
We truly only get one. And so we only get one life, we only get one body, and we need to treat that with like respect and gratitude.
Mhm. Well, I think so many people think of exercise and eating healthy and getting enough sleep as a form of punishment or just another thing to do and more of like a negative thing.
Yeah.
And to your point, why wouldn't we try to see how good we can feel? Because we do get this one body and one chance at this.
Yeah.
And you can change at any time, right? But why not see how good it can get today?
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, why not make yourself feel better, right? Like, especially if you have the ability, like I said, so many people right now at this very moment are sitting in the infusion room getting in a chemo infusion. So many people are at the hospital right now and can't do those things. And so, why would we give that up if we have the ability to do that? And I think a lot of people just don't know where to start, maybe. And so, it's just really starting wherever you see fit. Not everyone's exercise routine needs to look the same or should look the same. And so it's all about just, not taking that for granted. Because I think we do until it's again, it's sad, but I mean, I think I even did until it was taken away from me. And so I hope if anyone hears anything from this, it is just that like to reflect and just like think like, what do I have right now that maybe some other people don't have? And maybe it's not perfect and maybe my health and fitness isn't perfect, but I still get to do these things.
Mhm. Yeah, and also testament to community, having people around you for support and to get inspired by, and I just think that's always part of it too, and key.
Yeah, you are really who you surround yourself by, and so I do think, like, that's been a huge part of this too, is my community has been a huge motivator for me.
Mhm. Jacob, any further questions before we move into our we get to do this moment?
I don't. I'm again. I'm so happy you came on and shared. You're
I am
you
Nice.
yeah.
so
I
thankful to be
really
here.
like. You need to write a book, and I
Oh,
think that
Mhm.
like I'm really happy Joe introduced us to you, and like please, 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 I hope we stay in touch. And
absolutely. For sure, and
um,
honestly, like, I love your guys's, like, mission and everything about this podcast, like, I I mean, I know you said that, like, "Oh, like, you're the epitome of this." Like, this is my life. Like, I love this vibe, that we get to do this vibe. I try to spread that, and I think, like, you guys are a huge part in spreading that through everyone that you talk to, and all the podcasts that you share. Like, people need to hear people need to hear this more. And I am grateful that you guys spread that message. And so thank you for starting something like this. I think there needs to be more of this positivity in the world. So thank
Mhm.
I
Well, there
agree,
needs to be
and
more Emily.
you. Thank you.
I think it's unique too how you you talked a lot about feeling the negative stuff too, and
Mhm.
I think that both the emotions are there for a reason, and feeling all the emotions are very important for us, and I was just talking to Keely about this on Sunday. We had one of the biggest races in you know what, it's the biggest race in Minnesota. I'm going to say that because
Wait, what did
Grandma's
you guys do?
Marathon.
What was the race?
grandma's marathon?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. One of my friends just did
Yeah.
the half there this weekend, actually.
Hell yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think it's our biggest race. I think it's becoming quite the race in the nation. A
Yeah.
lot of big like
Oh,
runners that have no idea what
multiple patients of
Minnesota,
mine have done
yeah,
it.
are
I'm like,
running
"Well,
it.
we're all the way in North Carolina." Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
Cool.
Heck yeah. So, uh, but I was talking to Keely and I was like, what we do for our work is really cool. And I am feeling a little burnt out specifically though about all of the negativity in this world.
Mhm.
And it's not just the run world. I'm not right. But
Yeah.
Keely and I spend a lot of time in the run world. And it has been like, I've been reflecting a lot this week because I've just been like, it just makes me sad how negative, the run world is. And I think that, people like yourself and hopefully like part of the reason we started this podcast too, we can continue to spread the message of like, guys, what we're doing is such a gift. It's such a
Totally.
gift. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be negative from time to time and feel those emotions by any means, but like we have to change this because it's just so negative so much of the time. You go on Strava and people are so mad about seconds off times
Oh,
and
yeah.
people are so comparing themselves to other people, and
Mhm.
we downgrade by saying that we're just doing the half instead of the full. We're just fun running this
Yeah.
race because the last race that was a full marathon didn't go well,
Yeah.
because you were
Right.
5 minutes slower than you wanted to be, and we're
Yeah.
just doing it's just like constantly like people bringing the aura down when you talk. And
I know I've said it. Like, I'm like, "Oh, I'm just running the New York City Marathon for fun." And
right.
I'm like, it's my first marathon I'm running with cancer." Like, it's not a
Right,
just.
right,
Like,
right.
what the heck?
We don't even realize we're doing it. It's just
We
ingrained.
don't.
I do it myself, right? It's just ingrained in us.
Totally. Because yeah, you go on things like Strava and people are making comments like that all the time. Like, "Yeah, like, this one didn't go well," or, I just ran the half today," or this or that, and you're so right. Like, you can keep comparing yourself all day, and I think it's nice to feel the emotions, but also I always say, like, end on a positive note. Like, same thing with my, like, Substacks, like, feel them. Yes, you trained for a bunch of months and it didn't go exactly as you planned, like, feel that, understand that, and then end on a positive note of, like, "This is what I learned from it, though. Like, this is what I learned from this experience. Like, this is what I could do better next time, and this is also what I did really well this time, and I need to do that again." And
I
so,
get
yeah,
to
it can
do
be
that.
both.
I get
Yeah.
another chance at this. It doesn't have to be your last race. You get to do
No,
so much more.
no, yeah. I think that that is so true of, like, yeah, getting to end on a positive note in a space that maybe doesn't always.
Right.
I don't know why we do
Yeah.
that. Maybe to, like, protect ourselves, I guess.
I think that's
I
a huge part of it for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think that we just want to put safety blankets out, and you see it heading into races too. We the taper scaries, we pick up an injury in the last week and we're like we all do it.
totally.
But it's a whole other podcast probably. But thank
For
you
sure.
again, because you and the beacon of light and your story, I truly believe it will change lives. So thank you so
Aw,
much for being here.
thank you, and thank you for letting me to continue to share my story.
Mhm. I feel like the entire pod was a "we get to do this" moment,
Very
but,
much so. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry.
my life, we get to do this moment for sure. If I had to pick just one moment, gosh, I don't even know if I can. I mean, I think I have a couple. I think I have a lot. I think like two of my highlights are probably running that half marathon after finishing chemo and being like, I still get to do this. Like, and just being completely shocked that I set this goal in my mind and didn't tell anyone else about it until the week before. And then I was like, I'm actually doing this. Like, this is crazy. So that was a huge we get to do this moment of my life. And I think every moment after, like, I can think, like, every Monday after my rounds of chemo on Thursday was a "we get to do this," I wanna bottle this feeling up of feeling the sunshine again, feeling like myself again, and I wish I could bottle that feeling up and feel it 100 times without having to do the chemo part, of course, but I wish I could see that light, and I still do feel that, but maybe not quite as vividly as like I did that Monday after every round of chemo, being like, I get to come out of the vortex. I get to feel the sunshine. I get to go to work. I get to go to run club this morning. I feel like a human again. I feel like me. And I was just like, this is just your average Monday, but it feels like the best day in the world.
Mhm.
Those are
I
probably
love
my
it.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that and the last 60 minutes that we get to do this moments.
Thank you.
Yes.
Emily,
Thank
how
you so much.
can you give us how people can find your Substack and where to follow you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I would love for anyone to follow along on my journey. My Instagram handle is Emily E. Kellogg, and my Substack is linked there. But Emily Kellogg on Instagram, and my journal is called Thursday Thoughts. I write an article every Thursday. Thursday has been my day. The day I always got chemo, the day I had my surgery, the day I have my injections and all of my appointments. It is a coincidence, but I think it's not a coincidence. It is the world speaking to me that Thursdays don't need to be a negative day. They are my day of remembering why I get to do this. And so, yes, a lot of negative things have happened on Thursdays, but they're also just my reminder that I'm still here. And so, yes, follow along Thursday Thoughts, Emily Kellogg.
And we'll also
And I'm
link
on
that in the
TikTok.
show notes for people. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah. Instagram, TikTok, Substack. You can find me and all my thoughts.
Go find Emily because we all need these reminders all day, every day.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Emily. We really appreciate you. And thank you everyone for listening. And hopefully you got a new perspective shift out of this because I know that we for sure did.
Thank you,
Thank you for
guys.
being here.
We get to do this, y'all.
We get to do this.
That's a wrap. If you are new here, welcome. We're so glad you get to do this with us. Before you go, what's your We Get to Do This moment for the week? We'd love to hear it. Comment on this episode or email us at wegettodothin@gmail.com.
And if this episode hit for you, share it with a friend and leave us a review on whatever platform you listened on. It genuinely helps. We get to do this.